Good day good. It's your boy Kirk of Grabe TV. In the headlines, basic concept of nitrogen and sulfur cycle explained. Anthropogenic activities that causes negative results explained by experts. And lastly, smog and acid rain, cause and effect. As per the headline, we have invited some experts to further explain the recent happenings and what are the causes of this anthropogenic activities.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for having us here today. We are experts that focus on the nitrogen and sulfur cycle. My name is Andre John C. Carriazo.
And I'm Dr. Cristina Beatriz P. Arellano.
I'm Dr. Alois Valentino.
I'm Dr. John Michael Abalencia.
And I am Dr. John Patrick Platon. To introduce us or to give us background about these two cycles, here is Dr. Carriazo.
So for the nitrogen cycle, the basic concept of the nitrogen cycle is it is a biogeochemical process through which nitrogen is converted in many forms. As for the sulfur cycle is a collection of processes by which sulfur moves between rocks, waterways, and living systems. I will give the floor now to Dr. Cristina Beatriz.
Sulfur plays a vital role when it comes to the formulation of important enzymes as well as the formulation of plant proteins. It also acts as soil conditioner that helps reduce the sodium content of the soil. But as much as there is an effect on sulfur, there is also an effect when it comes to nitrogen, because plants help in terms of accumulation of nitrogen when they absorb it from the soil. Through the form of ammonia, nitrate ion, ammonium ions to form plant and animal protein. Now, to discuss another important issue, here is Dr. Valentino.
Hello, good morning. Here are the negative anthropogenic effects on nitrogen cycle. First is the smog and acid rain. Smog is an air pollution that reduces visibility, while acid rain is a rain or any other form of precipitation that is usually acidic. What we rarely notice is that us, Filipinos, inadvertently causes it by adding fossil fuel combustion with a nitric oxide component on the nitrogen cycle. And what is worse is that it is still unclear how much fossil fuels alters the nitrogen balance of the nature, which means the smog and the acid rain we are experiencing right now could be worse in the future if we are not careful. Although nitrogen additions help plants absorb more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, making the air more breathable to us, we have also found out that this process can also produce a worse greenhouse gas, which is nitrous oxide. There are also some anthropogenic effects that I have not mentioned in this PowerPoint, mainly excess nitrogen, deforestation, and eutrophication. Next is Dr. Abalencia to introduce the anthropogenic effect of sulfur cycle.
The negative anthropogenic effects of the sulfur cycle are primarily caused by the burning of fossil fuels, which is particularly coal, that transforms into a high concentration of sulfur dioxide that manifests itself as acid rain.
And for all the viewers watching, in order to prevent these negative anthropogenic effects, we need to avoid fossil fuel combustion by practicing conservation at home. We also urge the Filipinos to use alternative mode of transportation that are less harmful to the environment. To avoid greenhouse effect caused by nitrogen addition to the plants, we should educate or inform farmers to avoid overusing of fertilizers that results to excess nitrogen in the soil that can also lead to eutrophication. Filipinos should be cooperative and be aware of researches that address this matter. Additionally, we need to reduce the use of fossil fuels by using other renewable energy sources, such as solar and wind power. We also need to use coal that contains less sulfur.
Thank you, experts. Now we're going to have a short trivia before we end this news.
Good day everyone. In today's advertisement, we're tackling about the invasive species and the epigenetics in flora. So, what is invasive species? The invasive species are also known as introduced species because they come from different area and brought to a designated place. Invasive species can bring harm to the environment, the economy, or even the human health. They grow and reproduce quickly and also spread aggressively. As a trivia, 42% of the endangered species are at risk due to the invasive species. Imagine what loss we can get from that. Next is the example of invasive species in flora. First, the phytoplankton. Next is the azotobacteria. So, here are the effects of invasive species. First, loss of habitats. Invasive species bring devastating impact to where they are located. They can harm the resources and the food chain cycle of that area. It also disrupts the balance of the ecosystem. The invasive species will outcompete and displace the native species in their habitat. For example, the invasive species may kill a certain species of a tree or disrupts the nutrients in the soil. Next, it causes pollution. Invasive plants can also cause water, soil, and air pollution by destroying the resources. Next, let's move on to the epigenetics. So, what is epigenetics? Epigenetics is the study of the changes in organisms caused by the modification of gene expression rather than the alteration of the genetic code itself. Epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change your DNA sequences, but they can change how your body reads a DNA sequence. So, epigenetics have good and bad effects. First, the good effects of epigenetics in flora. The process of epigenetics helps, especially in flora, when it comes to speeding up the flowering or fruiting of the plants, as treating the seedlings as to induce the shortening of its vegetative processes. Epigenetics can also be beneficial when it comes to the agriculture, to make the plants regenerate and also to grow faster. So, here are the bad impacts of epigenetics. Epigenetics have also bad impacts on plants. It can face biotic and abiotic stress, which leads to nitrogen and sulfur cycle. Then it leads to the nutritional deficiencies. So, that's all for advertisement for today. Thank you.
And that concludes our session. Thank you for listening and a good day.